Okay, all formalities have been concluded. We are deep into our first week of the new seasons on F125 for RPL. Yesterday we had Tier 2, and the other day on Thursday was the first round of Tier 3. But today we are at the Granddaddy Show. We have Tier 1 kicking off its 13th season of F1 for RPL, and we are here at the season opener of Australia. And we're expecting a full grid here tonight. This is gonna be great. Well, Titan Iron on hand for comms tonight. I would have been joined by probably a couple of people, either Beatnik or I forget which individual is Carson. Faded, thank you. But unfortunately Faded is not feeling well, and Beatnik is on loan in the Racing Bulls. But I will say I'm not alone for this commentary. Basically going to be playing the role of Ted Kravitz for this event is Ryan Searles. He is here on hand, and he'll be popping in every now and again. But yeah,
yes.
18 currently in. We're expecting a full 20. We're just missing 2 drivers. That being the Aston Martin of Ding and the Williams of Willow. I believe Willow is going to be showing just a small bit late, but I digress. So, this should be fun.
Yes, I agree. It was 4 seasons ago, Titan, we ran in Australia as a season opener the last time. We ran here last season, and it was Gecko who dominated. This is a brand new game, brand new season, a lot to look forward to. But also, this is very different from what you were saying when the other tiers raced so far this weekend, because the other tiers raced at Bahrain, and we're racing at Australia. You know, there's a lot of differences we spoke about in the season preview about the difference in tire wear, more 2 stops possible. We said dirty air as well. There's a lot to look at and a lot to think about. I know people have spoke about some of the drivers like Cryptic maybe struggling with tire wear. TB and Jack maybe being on the back foot. A lot of controller players are at a disadvantage this game, and that is a humongous surprise. I look at drivers like Ding, I believe Cookie's on controller, Gecko is. There's a handful of drivers on controller, Jack is. But drivers on wheel, George, pretty sure Florian's on wheel, Beatnik is. Josh H, I believe, is. There's a variety of drivers on wheel, and there's a variety of drivers on controller. So there's a nice little mix-up. But this game, we've heard already some of the back talk about controller being at a disadvantage and wheel being a bit more comfortable. And Titan, it's time to find that out if that's true or not when we get into qualifying and when we get into the race, because this track will probably tell its tale quite a bit with that being said.
Yeah, very much so. And actually, we just got a very developing story here. Currently, Aston Martin is going to be having 1 driver currently. Apparently, Ding is not showing up tonight. Apparently, he's doing majors, so that means he is not going to be participating tonight. So once Willow has appeared, then we'll have only 19. So apparently, currently at this moment, they're trying to get the reserve for Mercedes Academy. F1 Union is slated to go in there, but he will have a quality ban. However, with Egg unavailable to talk, to mention and go for the loan, unless an admin goes through with it. I mean, F1 Union has like a short time period, and the TPs have a short time period to get the loan finalized, or else F1 Union, say he starts at the back and finishes in the top 10, he'll be removed from the finishing order because he never got accepted to the loan.
Yeah, yesterday he raced Mercedes. It's different because remember, Red Bull Academy now has Aston Martin. It used to be Mercedes Academy occupying that. I want to also cut in on some other developing news. Yesterday, Torn Penguin did not race Tier 2 because he had a broken wheel. That has been figured out. He is in the V-Carb next to Beatnik for tonight. So all situated for Penguin. As for Union, we're going to see a situation here in a little bit. Titan, he raced in Mercedes yesterday as a reserve. Now he's in Aston Martin as a reserve. So 2 different academies on his opening race weekend.
Yeah, very much so. So here we are in Australia. So for anyone that is new to the RPL racing, basically for Tier 1, we have a full qualifying session, Q1, Q2, and Q3. Very similar to Formula 1 itself. 16th through 20th, or currently in this case, 16 through 19. Once Willow shows up and F1 Union has its quality man served, will be knocked out of Q2. Will be knocked out of Q1. Then for Q2, 11th to 15th will be eliminated, and then in Q3, the top 10 duke it out for pole. And then we have our 50% race, which, from what I've been hearing, this track, along with multiple others, may not be a one-stop unless you know what you need to do with the type of tire you need. There's a possibility that there could be a two-stop in effect for Australia. But we did see in Bahrain in Tier 2, a couple of the guys did try a one-stop, and it did benefit a couple of them.
Dry Q1. I'm going to go on to a few streams and find out what the weather is for the race. Just keep in mind, we had dry qualifying back here in Season 9, the last time it was a season opener, and a wet race initially until RPL's first red flag conflicted things, and then it became a dry race as things went on. So, yeah, I will check the weather on that aspect. You're talking about strategy. Is it going to be a two-stop? Is it going to be one stop? You know, the drivers can't rely on Tier 2 and Tier 3 like they could the last 2 season openers for Tier 1 when it was the same track as Tier 2 and Tier 3. So they're really going into this with more so other leagues to rely on, as well as any race practice they've done. One other thing to note, Cookie's gamer tag, or I should say EA name, has changed. He had to make a new EA account this week, so hopefully he's got all of his settings all figured out. His new name is Baked Cookie, and he is our most recent race winner. If you didn't catch Abu Dhabi, JTK lost his win in the stewards room, so it went to Cookie.
Yeah, one of multiple races where the winner had lost his win via the stewards room. It's not uncommon, but it has happened many a time before. But we have cars coming out on track. Leading up through this, we have Alex Norris in the Haas, followed by the McLaren pair of Florian and Cryptic. Now Florian, from what I saw, has been practicing this track, and I did look at the Mercedes Academy chat. He has a absolute monster of a lap, and apparently in time trial, he stated that had he not invalidated I forget which corner it was that he got the invalidation at, but he would have been third globally.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Cryptic's not going to do a lap. He went out in inners, but he almost ran into teammate Florian. So, although these McLaren boys are fast, Titan, just keep an eye out on that. And you know what? Oh, Florian almost had the RB in the way. Although we may not have Leo Lund here anymore, something else developing that people may have not been aware of if you only been into our races. No more Leo Lund in RPL. He's been banned. The admins deemed him too dirty, I guess, to stay. He's not clean enough to stay, if you want to put it in a more vague way. So Although Leo Lund may have left, the Leo Lund domination may not have left for what Florian's pace is like. And I'll let you finish this lap, but Florian might not finish this lap with any ERS left, though.
Yeah, Florian is just burning and smashing apart that ERS. Getting to about 5% heading into turn number 13 here. Bouncing up and over, but let's see what he's got as he goes through the last few corners, through 14, into 15 and 16. Still has deployment available. It's seen on that green spacing here. Alex Norris sets the crossbar, 16.5 for him. Here comes Florian across the line, and it's 9/10 ahead, 15.6 for the McLaren driver.
He turned on that button 5 different times in the last sector alone. I wonder what we're gonna see in terms of the other drivers. Is that how much you want to use ERS or not? We'll see later on.
Yeah, coming up is the Saubers Dom, 17.7 for him. Goatley, I believe, just started his time lap. More cars coming on in. TB, 17.1 for him. George, 16.6. In fact, his decimal point, he's got the devil's number attached to him. F1 Union has called it. Serving his qualifying ban. Danny made a mistake somewhere in his lap, so he's going to have to try again.
Jack, too.
Next.
Jack made a mistake and validated. I'm not sure if that was being behind TB. I'm not sure if you caught that with TB when he crossed the line. Jack was getting a tow, but I don't know if Jack invalidated before then or turn 1. So, unfortunate there.
Fair enough. Well, more cars are about to start their time, about to get their time lapse started. We have the Mercedes of Gecko way behind, and turn 14 is Cookie. Beatnik, by the way, 17.3 for him. Now, one thing I wanted to note about what Beatnik is, he had, not Beatnik, TB. 17.1 was his time, but we did hear speculatory rumors, but this is probably only from the Ferrari garage itself. Apparently, both the Ferrari cars of TB and Jack are actually struggling pace-wise.
Their car itself has been hard to turn, I've heard, but you know what car I've heard that is worse than the Ferrari in terms of top cars having issues? The Red Bull. A lot of people said, I wouldn't want to drive that Red Bull. You need the right driver in it. Well, KVS is in it tonight. George is in it tonight. So, I think there'll be a good comparison to Ferrari because it's a similar aspect of where they should be in terms of car performance.
Yeah, very sorry if you heard any little background noise. I just finished finishing a chocolate milkshake that I wound up getting from basically from the ice cream store. Because I mean, for those in Europe that don't know, Searles and I, we're both in the U.S. We're in the Northeast, and we're expecting a very nasty heat wave from Monday to Wednesday. We were just talking about it before the stream started. Searles was telling me that he is expecting 96 degrees Fahrenheit on Monday, which for those in the Celsius to Fahrenheit comparison, 96 is basically about 35 degrees Celsius. And then I was telling him for my high temperature on Tuesday, well, for Celsius, 38, which is about 100 degrees. That's nasty.
So,
coupled on with the high heat and humidity.
Willow, who you said was late, he's finally here. KVS is completing a lap, and he's not Red Bull full-time this season, but as people have said, this might be a hard car to drive. We're going to find out. Florian and Beatnik's laps, as well as Danny's, are on the medium, so it's not fully representable. We'll find out in a few moments where they compare.
It was kind of crazy to see Florian's fastest lap, a 15.6, done on the medium compound tire. Think about it, if he was on the soft compound tire, you probably would see his time in the low 15s, probably like a 15-2 or 15-3 perhaps. KVS
Yeah.
puts that Red Bull into the 5th place spot, 16-4. And we had a bunch of people get some laps in prior to that. We had Cryptic with a 16-4 in McLaren. George, already mentioned before, 16-6. Torn Penguin, 17-1 for him. Basically after getting his wheel fixed. If I had to speculate with Torn Penguin's wheel issue, was it for the was it like a force feedback problem, or what was it?
I don't know the full details on it, but it was bad enough to where he had to miss Tier 2 yesterday. And both Red Bulls didn't really do much. Jake Bandy from the back of the field, he's either Aston or V-Carb full-time in Tier 2 this season. From the back of the
He's
field,
Aston.
yeah, so he had to race Red Bull last night. He qualified in the back because of serving that qualifying ban for the late lineup change, and it screwed him because I think the most spots he had gained was 3 or 4 places. It also didn't help. He was involved in a lap 1 crash. His race wasn't good. Alan J, who raced Tier 3 last season, he was doing okay. It wasn't doing as much as expected, but he was doing all right. He was probably in for a 6th, 7th place finish, behind both Mercedes and behind 2 Ferraris as well. So that's just kind of, where he stands in terms of the other teams. He lagged out, so he didn't score points in the end. But that was an unfortunate day for Red Bull, though, just because that was not good. McLaren had an awful weekend in Tier 3 as well, so I wonder what team's going to have the same thing happen. And I heard you say, well, I'm going to guess that was about TB there because TB had a few moments on that lap.
No, that was Jack. Apparently, he turned in just a bit too early in turn 10 at the start of Sector 3, which resulted in his lap getting invalidated. And then going through turn 14, he actually had a little drift on the exit, and that really hurt him pretty bad. So, Jack, unfortunately, getting the ding treatment in regards to staying within the track limits. Will coming across the line is a 17.5 for the Williams, and it sets him in P12 for right now. So currently we have 17 drivers with adequate laps put in. 14 with actually good competitive laps. 3 that are resuming and trying again to get a better lap, in one of them being Andrea, currently in Sector 1. Goatley currently starting Sector 3 down in 16th, and he invalidates in turn 11 at that fast chicane. That fast chicane is nasty, nasty, nasty in regards to track limits for warnings and penalties. Same applies with turns 1 and 2. Those 2 chicanes are particularly a total jerk in regards to limits and penalties.
You can't send it in the fast chicane anymore like you could last game. Last game you could send it and maybe go full throttle. This game with the dirty air, and even without the dirty air, it's a lot more trickier to do so. Jack Miles, our reigning champion, although he does not have a lap in, it's definitely surprising to see him down there. And you were mentioning Florian's lap. Andrea's 4th for Alpine. That's a good lap. Florian, part of the Merc/McLaren Academy, all those cars, all in the top 5. Something to mention about that, though. You mentioned Florian's lap on mediums. Yeah, Leo Lund may not be here anymore, but the domination seems to be going Florian's way. A lot of people talked about it and speculated on it before the season started, and I think they were right in the direction it was going. Leo Lund may have not won last season's championship, but he won the season prior, and that was the first season on the 24-game cycle, and he was also in the McLaren too. And this McLaren, in terms of our performance chart, is a lot better than previous McLarens, even last game. And speaking of McLaren, their Academy teammate car has got 2 cars in the top 10. That's Alpine, 4th and 9th, Redfire and Andrea. Danny's going to cross, Jack's going to cross. One's completing a lap, one is starting one. We'll see where they go on the pecking order. Danny, 14. So we now do have some drivers who are on competitive laps in that bottom 5, and technically bottom 4 union, serving a qualifying ban. With Leo Lund gone, Dom asked to come back, if you're aware. in the offseason on how things went. He has to come back, and he got permission to do so. So he got unbanned. So that is where that is at for Dom and why he has returned. Jack Miles just barely kept it within the track limits, and I want to mention that because this game, Titan, this is a track that has been reprofiled technically because it has been rescanned. So track limits, you may get away with something. Right, exactly. You may get away with something you couldn't on last game, and that was one where Jack may have been barely outside of the track limits, but because the rescan track, he got away with it, and TB finally puts the competitive lap in up in fourth. Can Jack do the same?
Yep, Jack currently goes through the last couple of corners through to finish off his time lap to finally get himself into a competent lap here as he comes across the line. But to P5, about a tenth behind TB. So, very quickly, we'll go over the driver pairs that are involved in tonight's festivities. We forgot to mention that at the start of the stream. But we have the McLarens of Florian and Cryptic. Mercedes is Cookie. Used to be Boss Cookie, now Baked Cookie with Gecko. Ferraris, it's TB and Jack. Alpines, we have Redfire and Andrea. Andrea filling in for Minico. Minico had a family event that came up last minute, so Andrea's filling in for him. KVS filling in the Red Bull and he's got George for company. They are in the Red Bull. Alex Norris and Knights in the Haas. Beatnik on loan to the Racing Bulls with Torn Penguin. Torn Penguin, a tier 2 driver for there. Uri and Willow are in the Williams. Danny and new loan F1 Union in the Aston Martin. And last but not least, Dom and Goatley in the Kick Sauber. And speaking about when you were talking about with Dom, basically, for those that don't know, Dom and Leo had a very heated incident in Hungary last season, where Dom actually did attempt to straight line and take out Leo Lund, but unfortunately it resulted in KVS being knocked out of the event, and that's why Dom wound up getting banned for the antics that was done. But like I said, with Leo gone, Dom is now back, so probably Dom will be like, hey, I'll be a lot better this time around. Goatley, by the way, just put his Kick Sauber into the 15th position, so with just under 2 minutes to go, Goatley's got to hope that Danny, Willow, Knights, and Dom don't put in a lap that is better than his time of a 17-2.
And Danny's out. Other cars, Danny's out. He just got back into the pit lane. He's not going to make it out in time right now. He's going to be done.
And for other cars, I believe Uri, Beatnik. I was going to say Torn Penguin, but Torn Penguin moved himself up from P14 to P12 with a 16.8. So, Torn Penguin, he should be okay, I think. But we know Beatnik and Uri, they're going to be putting something in to ensure that they get a good, adequate lap in and dusted. Meanwhile, Goatley looks like he's going to be going on for another lap here.
Smart.
With Willow right behind him. We have your Beatnik's about to start his lap. Uri currently heading into turn number 12.
Willow's invalidated. He's done. Willow's done.
Ouch.
That is unfortunate. Knights is down. Dom is up.
Yeah, turn 1 bites again. But here comes Uri out of the final corner. 3/10 up after sector 2.
Dom's done. Dom invalidated.
Dang. And Uri up to 10th. And Knights is backed off. So he is done. So Goatley makes it through to Q2.
And he's up on the time still. Regardless. He was one of the people, I believe, who was talking about this and at least saw the messages in the Ferrari Academy chat. They feel like this Sauber drives like the 2014 Ferrari. That's how bad that car feels compared to last game. At least the Sauber, which I drove last game, felt nice, but was just simply slow. This game, it's a whole different tale. And Goatley is in the queue. Two!
Oh!
If he's going to keep it on the
Save it,
wall, at
buddy.
least.
You got a little too greedy on the throttle on exit there, but I mean, hey, Goat Lee, you're still through, so you're all good, buddy.
Now, something I'm going to keep an eye on, though, is Goatley, Knights, and Danny. There's some of the drivers who didn't elect to go for another set of soft tires. Yes, 2 of the 3 are knocked out, but keep in mind, if you're talking about a potential 2-stop and softs are used, keep an eye for some drivers who are taking the soft tires, I guess with more precaution. I say more precaution because you're not going to use 2 sets of tires for 2 runs right now like those 3 didn't do. Those 3 stuck themselves on the same set, and they're either planning for a 2-stop then, or they're trying to save some soft tires if there's a late safety car. That's something that Florian could very well be doing by doing this first run in Q1 on mediums only. You might be risking this in a more relaxed way, I guess, by preparing yourself for all scenarios. I don't know what the strat is necessarily. I think others have a better idea than I do, but I mean, it could be medium hard if we're doing a 1-stop, but you're barely going to make it, as you said, Titan. And if you're doing a 2-stop, there could be a variety of different ways to go about it. However, if you're doing a 2-stop or simply just planning on a safety car late like we had in Tier 2 yesterday, it wasn't late, but it was still late in the race that we had one. You're going to want to save a set of softs, and I think some drivers are trying to do that by doing multiple runs on one set.
Okay, so Florian does top our timing boards for Q1 with Cookie and Gecko rounding out the top 3. And here is something kind of interesting I want to point out. For Mercedes Academy has 8 cars for its grid, and 6 of the 8 cars are in the top 10. 7 are moving through to Q2. The only car not making it is Willow because of that invalidation. Danny, Willow, Knights, and Dom out for having the slowest times, and F1 Union out because of that quali ban. So 5 drivers out. The Aston Martin team being the first team completely out of it. So I know probably for Red Bull Academy, they are probably going to be kicking themselves in the head thinking, why is this Aston so garbage?
It's been quite a while since we've had 2 Aston Martins out in Q1. I mean, it's not unusual to see 1, but 2 is definitely interesting.
Yeah, so here we are in for Q2. Now drivers are going to be figuring out what tires they are going to be using for their runs. But we know in Florian's case, since he used one of the medium sets of tires, that means he is only going to have one brand new set of mediums available for the race later on. And he is
Not the only one.
using the
Beatnik too.
He's on the mediums again. I'm not sure if it's the same set that he's used for Q1.
Has to be. It has to be. Just based on what you apply when it's balanced harder or softer, whichever one of the 3 you apply, it doesn't matter. You're only going to get 1 set in qualifying. So yeah, I think that confirms for this race though. They might start on mediums or they might finish on mediums. They might try to go for a 1-stop. Who knows really? But I think that kind of confirms it just based on what they did in Q1, Titan.
Yeah, very much so in regards to that. So a whole bunch of cars are out on the track now, being led by the Haas of Alex Norris. There's a Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, the other Red Bull, Mercedes, Alpine, the other McLaren, and one of the Racing Bulls coming into play here. Now I do say V car, but now it's just basically the Racing Bulls now. I mean, literally, Racing Bull sounds a lot better than V-Carb, really. I mean, V-Carb literally sounds like some kind of specialty carb diet or something.
Yeah, I mean, I always wrote V carb just because whenever I abbreviated Red Bull, I did RB. So I get it. One thing about Alex Norris, this is the first one to start a lap. I just want to kind of put some breaking news out there. Remember, if you're not aware, Invade is going to be losing his team principal role at the end of the Tier 1 season. He's going to have to give it up unless no one wants it. Alex Norris is likely the main candidate for that. And with the performances of the last few seasons in RPL throughout all tiers, you can see why. And he's about to show you with his first flying lap in Q2.
Yeah, so Alex Norris currently going through turn 4 right now, and now into turn number 5, and at the exit where he was in turn 4 in the race, for a couple of games in 23 and 24, you went a little too wide out of 4. You could get like 10 to 5 to 12 warnings just for that, just for going wide there. But apparently, from what I've been told, that is now fixed. But here goes Norris through the through that fast S chicane, down DRS zone number 3, heading into the heavy braking zone of turn 13. Now engaging that throttle, had a little wheel spin going through there. Now through 13 into 14 and 15 to finish off. Lock up on the front. And speaking of which, with tire wear, that left front is going to be an absolute murder to manage in regards going through there. Coming across the line since benchmark 16.7, just like he did in Q1. KVS responsible with 16.2. Jack 16.8 in that Ferrari. 16.5 for Cryptic. So I'm thinking that the dirty air, because Jack was behind KVS, maybe that dirty air played a factor. And Gecko 15.6 for his time lap. George 17.6. Man, oh man, a bunch of cars just getting, I guess they're doing new laps because they must have been validated.
It must be said with what you said about dirty air and everything.
Only 3.
In my honest opinion, and I'm sure the admins are probably taking their own look at it. Yeah, 4 invalidated: Andrea, Penguin, Uri, and TB. One thing the admins will have to look at this season is qualifying bans for smaller blocking incidents, just because the dirty air is so much more effective that it's going to have a bigger effect when you get blocked. So if you even get blocked from a car being a second away, or maybe even 1.5 seconds away, and they're still staying there, yeah, you might get a bigger penalty for that this game. And we'll see what Jax's stance is on that. I'll have to ask him. But dirty air, as you said, more effective, and you're gonna pay the price for it. So
Andrea validated again. Andrea got himself a second invalidation on his end, and Goat Lee made a mistake somewhere, so he's gonna have to try again. He has a 19.5 on his end. So currently, in regards to a competent lap, George is the slowest as Penguin retreats back to the pits. Same with Torn Penguin. Florian just starting his time lap. Let's go with TB as he gets into the second sector. Turn 1, 2, yeah.
You said it, Titan. No reminders needed.
Yeah, as I said, turns 1, 2, and then turns 10 and 11. Those chicanes is your nasty zones. In regards to track limit warnings and penalties, it's been pretty common pretty much for multiple games in RPL. We've seen many track limit warnings and penalties over the years, and not only has those warnings and penalties affected points results, but it has affected podiums and even a win in RPL's history at this circuit.
I think back to Uri's championship he won in Tier 3. I mean, there was contact at the last chicane between him and Netsky. Funny how Uri drives for him now. Contact between the pair of them. Netsky's penalty, not removed, but reduced. And it won Uri the championship. TV backed off in his lap. Florian's going for another one, and you're on board with him. So can he avoid invalidation there? He can, but he still went all four wheels off at turn 1 and 2. So like I said, although track limits are still strict, Titan, and that's not changed, the rescan version of the track allows you to get away with some things you maybe wouldn't last game.
Yeah, very much so. While we're on board with Florian here, I did hear that breaking news that you were mentioning about Invade. Um, just asking on a bit of insight, how come Invade is losing his team principal status?
I would have to guess, with the admins talking about this a while ago, they were wanting for this game a lot more people who've not managed academies to be more involved, and obviously that being the team principal role, remember back last season, Invade's team principal role was at risk. So, I mean, I remember him being told that he would have to give it up at the end of the Tier 1 season here. And like we said before, Alex Norris, the favorite for that. Florian on Sauce's
Woo!
time smashes that out of the park as you expected with the tire
Yep.
change. But yeah, back to the point about Invade, to give you some insight there. Alex Norris, probably the leading candidate for that. We'll see if that does end up going through. I know Invade is looking at not necessarily finding the replacement, but at least figuring out the options right now. And he gets to choose his replacement, which is good. But the only way he were to keep his team principal role for the next Tier 1 season, this is season 14, the last Tier 1 season on this game, which is a long ways away, would have to be no one else wanting interest in it. And I mean, Alex Norris, the current co-TP, I'm the Academy assistant. We'll see what happens. There is interest there for that current role. Whoever it goes to, we'll find out. But I mean, just kind of flashing back to time and time ago in RPL, you look at, I guess, Tadpole being a driver who had many academy management roles and bounced around everywhere. So I think that's exactly why you look at things and you say Tadpole was there and inactive. I know it's a different situation. He was there in that role, and for a period of time he was inactive. So, you know, I think the admins just wanted somebody new and didn't want to keep Invade in that sense and wanted to give someone else a chance. We got lap times coming in, Titan. I'll let you take that, but some surprises right now and could be knocking some others out in Q2. Our top two, though, feel like they're safe enough to call it quits.
Yeah, Florian with a 15-0 and Gecko with a 15-6. Both very strong laps there. Andrea sitting in third with almost a 16 flat. Cryptic only 13 thousandths behind him. Literally, the top six is filled with three McLaren Academy teams. Uri, by the way, in eighth right now with a 16-7 on his end. Jack sitting in 10th with a 16-8. That puts him at the cusp right now. And one of the Red Bulls, that being George, is at risk of being knocked out. But there's still 5 minutes left in this session for him to get out of the bottom 5. TB coming out of the final corner,
Another slide there. Another one.
He is not having a great time at all. 17-2. That puts him in 12th.
So I guess the Ferrari struggle bus is live and in action. 10th and 12th for the car that is third to fourth fastest in the car performance chart. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And this is the reigning Constructors Champions, by the way, as a lineup. Not as a team, as a lineup. Just to keep that in mind.
Yes. So, I did want to go back on a couple of the stats. In regards to qualifying for this track. With Florian's time right now of a 15:043, he is 0.12 seconds. He's 12 hundredths behind the fastest time in Q2 in Season 11 done by Leo. Leo did a 14:924. And in Q3, Leo did a 14:8 for pole position.
There you go.
George gets himself in a P5. There you go.
And that knocked Jack out. That requires a response from his fellow Welshman, the reigning champion right now. down in P11. I don't know what to say. I want to see where Invade's head is at in this, but yeah,
Yes.
I know Alex Norris has had a lot of pace this weekend, but it's a bit concerning to see him being the highest Ferrari Academy car right now, and in a car that is the second slowest. Keep in mind his teammate is Skither too, so well he's not here tonight, but
Yes.
we'll see what he can do in future
And
races.
and to bounce off even a little further in regards to the time stats, last season's pole time, which was done by Gecko, the time 15:052. So
Faster than that.
Florian's Q2 time is faster than last season's pole time. But let's go on board with Jack as he navigates through turns 1 and 2, keeping it really nice and tight in through the chicane. DRS active, flying down into the heavy braking zone, 196 miles an hour as he enters through turns 3 and into 4. Nice and easy feathering motions of the steering, getting it really nice through 5. Now heading into 6, 7, and 8 here. Solid stuff there. No looseness out of that corner. Heading into DRS zone number 2 now. This is where the top speed is going to be really come into play here. Tops 200. Bouncing about in 200. Into the chicane 202. A little hesitation into turn 11 and 12, but makes it worthwhile. 13 into the heavy braking zone. Here he comes. Nice and easy. You'll hear a little rear lockup. I think he dipped into the gravel on the rear tire. Through 14 now. Now into the final couple of corners of 15 and 16. Let's hope that tiny dip into the gravel didn't hurt him too much. But Jack currently in P12. He needs to get out of there. Minute and a half to go. And he goes for fastest. Solid stuff.
Full second improvement from the reigning champion. 90 seconds to go. And Cookie back into the pits. He is going to be safe. Andrea, George, that's a bit more of a question, though.
TB
Alex
and
is up by
Beatnik
3
just starting their laps.
Alex is up by 3/10, currently in that bottom 5.
Alright. Well, let's see what he can do here as he heads into the Sector 2 split now. And that split goes to 4.5 tenths. Let's see if Alex can do much further damage here. 4.5 tenths. That's gonna be a 16-2 at the moment. That's gonna put him in 8th at the moment for the Oscar. Ooh, a little wide out of there, but I didn't see him touching into the gravel, so hopefully that doesn't screw him up too much. Nice and easy lock up into turn 15. Now out of 16. Here comes Alex Norris just putting the pedal to the metal here. Just screaming his way down across the line. 4th! Wow!
That now means George is at risk. TB is purple to the second sector. KVS now 8th.
Oh, Torn Penguin is out. Torn Penguin invalidated.
Uri up by 2/10. Beatnik coming across the sector split. Is he finding time? 3/10. There you go. TB crossing. Checkered flag is out.
Can he get out of the bottom 5 right now? He's 14th, comes across.
Oh.
He just barely gets it.
And Uri
but let's see
is right behind.
You're right, is out. Torn Penguin is out. So that leaves Goatly, Beatnik, and Red Fire to cause an upset. Let's see, where is Beatnik coming across? He's coming across now. 14th. It's all on Red Fire now. Can he do the impossible and knock out TB? No. He improves by 7 thousandths and stays in 12th. So TB manages to just squeak his way into the top 10 by the skin of its teeth. A 10th and a half separates TB and Uri.
I was a bit worried there about George. Even TB after his lap, but both Ferraris after their struggle are in. Both Red Bulls are barely in. And I want to give a shout out to Andrea and Alex Norris, the stars of Q2.
Oh, yes.
Those cars are those cars are 9th fastest. And the other one, the Alpine, is either 7th or 8th fastest in our performance chart. Remember, it's a realistic performance league. Those cars should not be right there. Those drivers deserve a lot more credit than we're giving them right now. That is for sure. Sorry about
Yeah,
that, Titan.
yeah, it's all good. But yeah, Alex Norris really showing the shine of that Haas car. But I mean, it is kind of expected with Alex Norris because he once you give him a car, you put him in a car that is like kind of in regards to the performance wise, he literally can take a bad performing car and really make it into a gold standard
Vegas
in that
last season.
sense.
That is the best
Yes.
example. Andrea too is gone under the radar. His first season in RPL, I believe it was season 10. Didn't really do much there, but it was season 11 he started doing more. It was Monza, that race, his home race. He got P4, and then last season a lot more points finishes. May not have been a lot, but a lot more Q3s as well. Out Uri, Red Fire, Penguin Beatnik, and Goat Lee. 2 RBs, 1 Sauber, 1 Alpine, 1 Williams. Haas make it in, Alpine make it in. Those are the 2 cars no one really anticipated on. But that also happened because 2 Aston Martins were out in Q1, and that is the 5th fastest car. So, with the 5th fastest car and 2 cars out, it leads to 2 surprises, and those were our 2 surprises: Andrea and Alex Norris. Florian fastest once again.
Up, Florian on top again, but the top three basically remained the same. It was Florian on top and the two Mercedes second and third. The only difference was it was Cookie and Gecko for Q1. The inverted for Q2. It was Gecko ahead of Cookie this time. So, well, we're in a Q3, people. Take your bets, take your guesses. Where do you think who is going to be on pole? Who do you think the top three is going to be? And heck, if you feel like it, take a guess on what do you think the pole time is going to be. Well, I'm going to be making my prediction pretty simply. And I mean, honestly, and you may call it bias, but I mean,
Not if it's the
currently
truth.
the way it's been going, I mean, it's gonna be on the true side. I mean, Florian is gonna be getting pole, and we're probably gonna see the pole time probably in the 14, probably a 14.9 out of that.
Yeah.
And the Mercedes is gonna be P2 and P3, but I mean, it's a toss up between which one's gonna be ahead of whom.
I think 14.7, 14.8 is more likely, if I'm going to be honest, just based on track evolution. Also, remember it's only Q2, so he's not gonna risk it all. I think Florian's on pole here in this scenario. Behind that, I think it's a toss-up with Cryptic, 2 Mercedes, maybe one of the Ferraris in there. Alex Norris could sneak his way into the top 3 too. Remember, Haas, they qualified top 3 for the first time last season, and that was with Leo Lund. They had a podium until the storage room happened, and now they're still looking for that first podium. But Haas do have a front row start, so it would not be the first time in terms of that. Chat, we want to see some predictions. Let's get some predictions in. Alex Norris is about to start the first of the final runs, or I should say first of the first runs of the final session. Here we are.
Well, we're going to be kicking off our Q3 times. Alex Norris will be kicking it off for the benchmark, but I'm going to be on board with KVS this time. We haven't been on board with a Red Bull so far for this session as he navigates through turns 1 and 2. Nice and tight on the entry in turn 1. Solid, smooth exiting of turn 2. Into turn 3 he comes. Back onto the throttle, feathering it through 4 now. Nice and easy on the curbs there. And nice riding of the curbs in 5. Now here he comes to 6, 7, and 8 now. Simple, easy, no looseness. Keeps it nice and tight through there. Now into 9, heading into DRS zone number 2. Pours on the DRS. And heading down into turns 10, into the fast chicane. 201 for the top speed. Into the braking zone. Back through chicane, flying into DRS zone number 3, heading into the heavy braking zone of turn number 13. We'll bounce up on the red curb. Doesn't dip into the gravel. Very solid stuff there through 14. Now into the braking zone of 15 and 16. We'll lock up on the left front in the entry of 15. And Alex Norris 16-2. Let's see what KVS has. He comes across the line 16-1. I've been noticing that for Q2 and Q2. As Florian goes 15-1 for his time. I've been noticing that Alex Norris puts in a solid time, but when KVS came across the line, his time was roughly not even a tenth faster than Alex.
Cookie invalidated, so it's Gecko. The only Merc to cross this time. He smacked the wall right there.
No, Gecko still managed to put his time in.
No, I said Cookie invalidated.
Did not. Yeah, I thought you said so to Gecko.
Well, Gecko smacked the wall. And speaking of smacking things, Andrea may have done the same because he spun around.
Yeah, Andrea not liking his run there, so he is probably going to be winding up doing another lap. I believe he did invalidate prior. Yes, he did. He invalidated on his first lap, so that is unfortunate for him. In regards to there, so we have 7 drivers getting their times in. We have 3 drivers in the top in the 15s, that being Florian with a 15-1, Gecko with a 15-4, and Cryptic with a 15-7. And we have 7 drivers in. Currently, unfortunately, the slowest is TB. So TB really not having a stellar time. Jack is on the track right now. He's on using the medium tires this time for his first flying run of Q3. But the question is, well, I know when he gets back to the pits, he'll switch to a soft set and go for a much quicker run there. Let's see. Cookie got himself on the board. He is the 4th driver into the 15s with a 15-7. He's only 11 thousandths behind Cryptic who's in P3. So Jack currently heading into turns 14, 15, and 16, coming up to finish up his lap. And here he comes, lock up into turn 15. Solid easy entry through as he makes his way around, comes across and goes up to finish his lap. And it is a 16-2. So for time lapse, both Ferraris are the slowest. Oh my. Both Ferraris are, as you mentioned it, both Ferraris are struggling. And that is, wow.
Ferrari's been hard to turn, but the Red Bull's been harder to drive from what I've heard. And right now, all the things you've been hearing and all the things you can see are now visible and clear as day that the Ferrari drivers, who are pretty sure one on pad, one on wheel, are not up to it as much as we may have thought coming in. But yeah, you now see it right here. That both of them going to have to come from behind.
So Florian just told us in the driver's chat to stop glazing them.
I saw that.
I mean, we're pointing out the legit facts here.
And we're legit facts for him accurate this time as well is that he won't have Leo Lund to deal with in this race. Last season, they had a collision here, so yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to be as accurate, factual, and bring up to date. And geez, Alex, poor guy, he just turned into turn 1 and invalidated straight away. Man, that turn 1 just loves to just bite people in the ass.
Yeah, 1 invalidation's not gonna hurt.
Yeah,
3 would though.
I mean, he does have 4 minutes, so he'll just take it nice and chill, and then he'll go again.
Jack on the mediums is interesting right now, though, with that lap. That does spark some attention. The fact that his medium run was still fast with TBs is interesting, though, too.
Yeah, and TB's fastest lap was done on the soft compound tires.
Well, Florian's on a lap tight, and I think you should go to this because we do not want to have a potential pole time here not caught. Using battery again in the final sector, less than 10%, and he was up by less than a tenth. This could be his final run. We're going to find out if it is or not.
Yeah, he comes out of the final corner, gets himself ready to dump it, and dump it he does. Flying his way down and coming across the line, 14-7.
Told ya. That would do
Yeah,
it.
you called it.
Yeah.
And he beats Leo Lund's Q3 time by exactly 1/10.
Maybe a different game, but a different story in terms of a different driver. Just the same scenario. Gecko, Cookie, Andrea, they're on track looking to beat it right now with less than 3 minutes to go. Any more predictions, Twitch chat? We'd love to hear them. We'll tell you who got what right at the end.
Well, F1 Shorts has a very bold prediction. He has Florian, Gecko, and Cookie as the top three, which is pretty much, I think, the main guess for everybody in this sense. But he's got Alex Norris for P4. That is bold. I mean, we have seen Alex Norris do phenomenally well. I mean, we can't rule it out for it to happen.
Well, both Mercedes are on a lap. And if you want to beat Florian, you're going to need something magical to happen with that being said.
Now, that's probably going to be taking notes for... That's going to be a note taken into account for the Red Bull and Ferrari camp in that sense. But it seems that the McLaren and the Mercedes cars are on a class of their own in regards to the pace, as Gecko a 10.5 up in Sector 2.
Okay.
Very solid stuff for there. I don't know where Cookies is. Oh, he invalidates coming out of the chicane.
He was up
Goes
2/10 right before
wide.
then. Oh, such a shame.
He would have overtaken Cryptic at that present moment. But here comes Gecko coming out of the final corner. About a minute and a half to go. So Cookie is going to have to try to regain all that battery just beforehand. And Gecko remains second, but does improve by a significant length.
Cookie is trying to do everything to save this battery. He just made a big smoke of dust because he wants to at least get another run in, but he's only got 80% battery, Cookie.
Yeah. Timbit's predicting Andrea for fourth.
Well, Andrea is on a lap.
Yep, and he's
so
still valid.
George, KVS, they're starting one. Jack just crossed the first sector split at 10th up.
He's got a bit more if he wants to try to get himself into the top 5.
Yeah.
Alex Norris is about to cross the line to start his final lap with 23 seconds to go. First one to cross the line to finish his final run is Andrea. He's P5 with a 15.8 on his part. Well, let's see what we got coming in. Let's see, we got Jack about to finish up his time lap. He's about a 10.5 up in Sector 2. See what he's got for Sector 3 here. He's going to go up in the 7th temporarily. Let's see what he's got as he comes across. And he goes 6th fastest. TB right behind. Putting the pedal down to get himself improved. He comes across the line and he goes 8th fastest. KVS is up next as Cookie returns back to the pits. KVS looking to get some moves up and all that stuff. And he goes up to 3rd. KVS up to 3rd. George now up and goes into 7th, which means here comes Alex Norris now to get his last laps done. Cryptic's
boarding. He's down.
Yeah, he's aboard it, so he's done. But here comes Alex Norris now across the line. Let's see what lap he's got as he comes across the line. 3rd fastest!
His best qualifying in Tier 1.
Damn!
Florian, though, captures pole number 3 in his RPL F1 career. And this is his first.
I think we could easily safely say, for qualifying
of the season,
Alex Norris is probably the qualifying MVP. Putting that Haas on the 2nd row.
He's only the second driver to qualify that car, top 3.
Yeah,
License pulls that are
but
only second. Gecko.
yeah, so there it is. So Florian and Gecko on the front row. Alex Norris and KVS make up row 2, and we'll get the full grid following after that.
But both Ferraris 9 and 10, by the way. Qualified by both Red Bulls, both Mercedes, and Andrea and Alex, who put in amazing performances too.
All
Wow.
right. So while we're waiting on the grid to ready up very shortly, let's get this field looked over here. So row 1, it's going to be Florian and Gecko, with row 2 being Alex Norris and KVS, as mentioned. Cryptic and Cookie will be settling in row number 3. Andrea and George will be in row 4. Ferrari will be taking up row 5 with Jacka in 9th and TB in 10th. Uri and Red Fire will be 11th and 12th. The Racing Bulls make up row 7 with Torn Penguin and Beatnik, 13th and 14th. Goat Lee in 15th. He'll be alongside FX7 Danny, who's in 16th. Row 9 will consist of Willow in 17th and Knights in the Haas in 18th. And then the back of the field, it is Dom, slowest driver in qualifying, and F1 Union dealing with a quali ban. Well, I'm seeing with the tires, it is going to be a mixture of both the hard and the medium compound tires. Just going to be predicted. It's just going to be a prediction of which one will be better to begin with. And we did note that Andrea, 5 lights come on for the season 13 opener of RPL. And it's lights out and off we go. Good reaction and a launch from Florian as he goes into turn number 1 here. Alex Norris attempted to try to get Gecko for the second place position.
Crash!
3 cars abreast. Whoa, big crash right behind. Mega involvement there. There's Willow with damage. 3 wide again. Almost 4 wide between KBS, Cryptic, and Cookie. Multiple cars bumping and bonking. And just a scrambling around of cars all over the place.
It was Willow getting spun. Dom, I think, had contact with him, but Willow looked to be either losing it on his own or getting tapped and spinning with contact after.
TB going up against George to get himself into the 10th place spot. George lost 4 positions on that half section of the lap. Andrea up in the 6th place, getting past KVS. But there's a bit of a gangle towards the end of the back section of the cars here. Jack on the inside against KVS. George trying to fight off against TB. He does so. George reclaims the spot back. But wow. Talk about a big gangle and craziness already on the first lap. Ooh, yes.
Danny.
There goes Danny. Yeah, Danny with a spin out in the middle of 15 and 16. That's going to hurt him. And DRS is now enabled. Jack getting past Andrea. Andrea now under pressure from KVS, who goes around on the outside to the inside now of 13. Contact between the two. Andrea has to relent and let him go. And Red Fire trying to muscle George off of him, as George tried to fight him for the P10 spot. And as the cars file into place, we have a couple of cars already out of DRS range. KBS out of range against Jack. TB trying to fight against George to get back into the 10th place spot. He has it for the time being.
Only spinners on lap 1, Danny and Willow. Everyone else clean and good to go, no damage. Unless there's been contact between these guys, which there has been with Red Fire and those gaggle of cars. Whoa!
Hey, hello. Hi, George.
If this is the only battle with a lot of contact, that might be the only damage there could be in this field. Besides that, everyone who spun had issues.
George! Too deep.
Oh, Goldley too deep. Goldley spins Beatnik. I was just going to say, Besides his contact, no damage for anybody, and no damage for Beatnik from that. So all good on the damage aspect.
A little further up on the field, a little further up, we have Alex Norris being chased down by Cryptic and Cookie. This is for the third place spot. Gecko, as Danny has gone around. This is in turn 1 and turn 2. I see a little damage. I see some damage on that wing. Yeah, he's got end plate. He's got decent wing damage on the right
Second
hand
one
side.
did it. Not the first one though. So whatever happened this time it was with the wall, and we switched to our leaders. I'm gonna guess here soon. A pass about to be made.
Yeah, Cookie, by the way, get Cookie and Cryptic get Alex Norris before the chicane.
Cryptic's not done.
No, he's not.
But neither is Cookie in terms of trying to give that up either.
Yeah, those two are really putting in the staunching effect there. A little further back, by the way, KVS got past Andrea for the 7th place position. And we also saw Goat Lee getting past Red Fire for the 12th place position. F1 Union, by the way, sitting in 14th, so he gained at least 6 spots since the start of the event.
Biggest gainer.
Let's take a look at the tires here that everyone is on. So we have Danny, Beatnik, Knights, Union, Red Fire, George, Jack, and the top 3 on the medium compound tires. The rest are on the hard compound tires.
Oh, there goes Dom off.
Going back to there. Yep, he's taking it to the grass. And yeah, he was battling, I believe, with Willow, as Danny has gone into the pit lanes, sped in the pit lanes.
Union has damage. I'm not sure what from, but he got passed by Penguin right there.
Yep.
Our 2 leaders are close right now. Titan we might not see a move right now, but they are pulling away.
Yeah, they are pulling away for sure. Gecko has a 2.5 second lead over his teammate of Danny. Not Danny. Of Cookie. I'm sorry. And I'm just seeing that Danny had that penalty and stuff. But George and KVS switch positions. So the Red Bulls swap it up. And meanwhile, TB is just all over the back of the Alpine of Andrea, trying to fight for the 7th place spot. And take a look at the biggest winners and losers here. We have a tie between Goat. F1 Union has the biggest gain with 5, and KVS is the biggest loser, losing 6 spots.
Both Red Bulls just had a hair-raising moment near contact with KVS and George. Yeah, Dirty Air might be effective, Titan, but you still got to be careful in these braking zones, whether it's a Dirty Air train or a DRS train, not running into people, and especially your teammate.
Yeah.
3rd place.
And
Cryptic takes advantage of a Cookie mistake. Yeah. Alex Norris now to pounce.
Alex Norris, like a shark smelling blood in the
and our
water.
leaders are about
He
to swap.
sees.
Gecko's using battery.
Here we go. So Gecko going around on the outside. We have a new leader now. Gecko takes the lead here in the Australian GP, and Alex Norris takes it on against the wounded Cookie and gets himself in the 4th. So Cookie with a mistake, losing 2 spots. And a little further back, Torn Penguin passing Goat Lee for the 12th place position. Meanwhile, Jack and George and Andrea close, little touch. But they're staying tight, and Andrea keeps George at bay again. That was tight. There was a little contact towards the end on that one, but fair credit to George and Andrea keeping it safe and not ruining their day.
So I'm going to keep an eye out on Gecko below 50%, Florian nearly 100 on that battery for our leaders. So Gecko used all that battery just about
to get by
try and get by Florian, and he did. So
it's got to be the wing setups. They're probably running different wings.
Probably a combination of things, but it's not the first time this race George has turned it on the Alpine while he's alongside him. But I can understand it though, because both Alpines, Andrea and Red Fire, have really been argy-bargy with George too.
I'm not sure about Red Fire. I think Red Fire's just been
he was the one earlier.
Meanwhile, Cookie just got regained the 4th place spot over Alex Norris, and George gets past Andrea to get himself into the 8th place spot. Now Andrea with a worse exit out of the chicane, now falling victim to KVS coming in. Contact again and into the gravel goes KVS. That is probably going to be seeing the steward's room for that possibly. Because maybe KVS could argue that Andrea didn't give him adequate racing room and bumped him into the gravel.
Yeah, Andrea kind of lost it and hit him right there. 2 penalties.
Yeah.
Goatley and Danny.
Yep, both track limit penalties, the first ones of the day here. And meanwhile, just want to note, the 2 leaders, they now have a over 3-second lead over Cryptic now, who's sitting in the 3rd place spot. And Alex Norris is now just fallen out of DRS to, well, now Jack.
He did let Jack go right there. And for our leaders, spot changing, Florian back through, but he used some battery while he was doing that. Gecko used some battery to defend, so batteries being touched right there. And a lot of ERFs gone. Knights, our 3rd one in the penalty club as well.
Yeah, Knights, the 3rd one in the penalty box there. And now it looks like Uri is trying to set up Andrea to go for an attack, to probably go for the 9th place spot, but Andrea does have DRS as well to stay in tune with George. So unfortunately, Uri is going to have to wait and bide his time for that to happen. So currently, at the present moment, we have Florian in the lead right now ahead of Gecko. Cryptic is sitting in 3rd. Cookie is in 4th. Jack's up in the 5th place. Alex Norris in 6th. TB sitting behind in the 7th place spot, about 3 seconds behind his Haas teammate. And then George is in 8th, Andrea 9, and Uri in 10th. And just seeing right at the end, just going into turns 1 and 2, Willow and Red Fire switch positions. That's for the P15 spot.
Dirty Air definitely playing an effect in that fast chicane. There's other areas that it is just as effective, but that is one big area. Our place changing hands again.
Yep, Cookie and Cryptic swapping it up again. With Cookie going back into the 3rd place spot. Cryptic falling to 4th. But, bear in mind,
that was close. Andre almost got smacked into the wall right there. Barely room to get by.
Looks like George went a little bit wide on the exit of the fast chicane. KVS now goes on the outside and passes Uri to get himself back into the points in the 10th place position. And by the way, with Cryptic and Cookie swapping it out every now and again, this brings Jack in DRS range against those 2. So Jack could possibly maybe biding his time and could fight for a potential podium here. And with his tires, by the way, we're coming into lap 9, and looks like Red Fire, the first of the mediums, is in. And goes to the hard compound tires, and Knights is just up and done. He was in 19th for a large chunk of the race, and he is our first retiree of the event.
His academy teammate, Goatley, got a penalty a few moments ago. He's now at 6 seconds. We'll figure out what the reason is for Knights there.
Yeah, who knows what happened with Knights in regards to that, but looks like Cryptic is trying to eyeball Cookie to try to regain into the 4th place spot. We're on board with TB into the penalty box.
He doesn't even have a 3-second gap to Andrea, so that's vital.
Yeah, Andrea's about 2.9 seconds behind, but he is currently being harassed by both. And
another mistake from
nice
Cookie.
Attack.
Another mistake from Cookie.
Yeah, Cookie is just really not having a great moment.
That's
in regards to
now
keeping
with
the grip.
That he's been near him and he's made the mistake. And Cryptic!
And now Cryptic in the penalty box for turn 2.
I don't get it.
Man, turn 2 is these chicanes are really screwing with these guys here for sure. As Dom goes in speeds, and he's now done. That's our 2nd retiree.
Well, I guess these Ferrari Academy drivers are not happy with the cars they're driving. They were already on the back foot this game. 4th fastest for that Ferrari, 9th and 10th fastest for the Haas and Sauber. There's one guy enjoying it, and that's in P6. But besides that, everyone else in that academy not really enjoying their time.
Not much at all.
Knights gave a reason.
So,
He said, I am bleep, I'm done. That's how he feels. As the two Red Bulls changed spots for Knights.
Yes, so it looks like KVS is now being given the rundown to go chase after Andrea. Oh, Cookie with a slide again in turn 14, in turn 13.
Too many mistakes.
And that's going to bring Jack closer now.
Too many from the Season 10 champion.
Yeah, that grip must be really playing into a factor of its own there. But Jack is now in DRS and will have DRS on this straightaway and then the straightaway again after turn 2. And let's see if he can try to regain some of the ground that was lost there.
If you don't mind me butting in,
he's losing it. Yeah.
Dom said same as Knights. He said, I'm shit, I'm done. So that's what Dom said. Cannot be asked with this game, just so crap. That's how he feels. And that's why their races are both done on lap 11.
Skill issue. But
Sucks.
I mean, but we have to give the credit where it's due. I mean, this game has affected quite a lot of quite a lot of our drivers. Some for the better and some for the worse. So it just goes into personal preference. They can be good or it can be total junk there. But meanwhile, KVS eyeballed. Ay, jeez, Andrea, that was a little sketch.
Here we go again. George wants to go through too.
Gets by.
Oh.
Andrea gets by Andrea gets passed by KVS for the P8 spot. Here comes George now into there, and Andrea into the gravel. Oh, almost went in the back of Uri.
Uri lost it.
Bumps in the, almost taps the back of Uri. Florian and Cookie are in the pits.
Yeah, George was saying, not to Uri. George was saying to Andrea, probably as he was going by, you looked a little sketchy there on the brakes, moving under it, so I'm just going to pinch you. Didn't work out for Andrea. We'll see where Cookie and Florian come out. Cookie's 15th, Florian 12th. Cookie is at the back. Cookie's not in a train, excuse me, but Florian is back to train, so this will be interesting to see what happens in terms of our undercuts and overcuts. Right now, Florian needs to manage as well, getting by Goatley, Penguin, and others at a quickly manner. It can be helpful for his academy teammate Gecko, but we'll see.
Well, in a quickly ordinary manner, Florian does get past Goatley for the P11 spot, but a little further up, Uri gets George, and Alex Norris passes Jack.
Florian now gets Penguin. That's vital for this race. Now he's coming up to the 6th place train.
Yes, very much so, but he's going to have to be careful because here he has Andrea, who has probably has a couple of incidents on him. One for the pinch earlier on, and then just before the chicane turns 11 and 12, he moved when KVS went to go by. Andrea made a little bit of a motion that wound up having KVS bumping the wall in just before turn 11, and Andrea now into the penalty box as George and F1 Union makes their stops.
I think Andrea kind of just pulled over for Florian there. Andrea was struggling, and some of these drivers who are struggling on the hards need to make it a few more laps here, if not a bit more, if they want to do the medium run quite well.
And speaking about with Andrea, Andrea did 13 laps on the medium compound tires before he suffered a puncture. Yes! Nice move by Florian there. Catching KVS off guard, and Uri helps take advantage of it too. Uri up in the 7th, Florian up in the 6th. The Ferrari switch, KVS falls to 8th.
Gecko's in. Gecko's in, so his current gap to Florian right now, 12.7 seconds.
Yeah, 12.7 seconds there, and Jack is also in as well. So, Cryptic will inherit the lead at this present moment, and that is going to be the end of all the medium tire runners for the pits. for these guys here. So now we have
Gecko and Cookie coming out of the pit
9
lane.
drivers.
That got close. Side by side with the Mercedes pair. They almost come together. Not the first time and probably not the last time with these two. Cookie ahead of Gecko. Cookie's undercut has paid off.
Yeah, so Cookie does take advantage of it, but that's because Gecko did stay out on the track just a couple of laps longer, and good thing they did come in at the end of lap 12, because as I mentioned, lap 13, Andrea popped the tires before turn 13 as Gecko passes Andrea, and KVS passes Uri to get back into 5th.
Danny is into the
And
pits once
Florian
more. We'll
against TB gets it in.
Fair stuff there. Yeah, is this a wing change for Danny too? Just serving the 10-second and pitting again on mediums.
Yeah, but he's going to be a lap down now. Here comes Florian up against Alex Norris now, going to slingshot his way up into the 2nd place spot. He does so, and Florian is up into 2nd place now. 5 seconds to his teammate, Cryptic, who's in the lead right now. Oh my god, poor Danny!
So that's the 2nd time he's done that then, because you're not going to get a 10-second for crossing it once. You're going to get a warning the 1st time and then a penalty the 2nd time. So that is his 2nd time crossing the white line. And just for context, his teammate is 56 seconds in front of him.
Well, don't forget, Danny is effectively 1 lap down. So he
I know,
is the
but the
first
gap
driver
between
to be a
teammates
lap
is
down.
not good either. Alex Norris pulls
Gecko's all
TV.
over the back of Cookie. I think the Mercedes are chosen to fight, but Gecko has to bide and wait.
This isn't smart. This just is not why. You know, I know they want to get by Uri. It's not the way to go about it.
Well, they get by Uri.
That's the good part. Now the next target's KVS. Which Merc has faster pace? Because if you need to swap the cars, I think you're going to have to here with the battling. There's no way you're going to beat Florian, but you got to cover off the drivers on hards who will have the pace later on mediums.
Yeah, very much so. And yeah, the tire wear, by the way, is actually quite noticeable as both Mercedes get past KVS here into the 5th and 6th place spots for both of them. Andrea and Penguin are in the pits. So this is the first of the hard tires into the pits now. Let's see if any others respond.
I don't know if they can make it the end like that, though. I know Danny had a spin and he came in 9 laps, but you're really looking at 9 to 12. We got 13 laps still to go next time by.
14.
Well, I'm saying next time by there's 13, though. That's the thing. You still have lots of laps remaining, and the Mercedes are going to swap again.
Yep, Mercedes switching it up as Gecko goes ahead of Cookie to get himself in the 5th, and now it will be turned loose to chase down Alex Norris now, who's just trying to stay in DRS range of his teammate, and we have a spin. That's Beatnik in turn 8.
We've not spoke about him, but
heavy damage on the left wing.
Because of that damage, that's not good. Looks like a wheel and modified car.
Cryptic is in.
With the damage that has.
So Cryptic is in. That gives the lead back to Florian now. And Florian now into the penalty box.
Luckily he's got the gap, but that's still beneficial for guys if there's a safety car.
Well, don't give anybody ideas.
I won't.
Touch! I think Gecko just turned a tiny bit too early, but both cars are still in okay shape. No severe harm done. And Cryptic, by the way, slots into 8th place, just ahead of Jack.
Alex will have DRS with Cookie while he fights this, but Cookie's on the button.
Cookie is just roaring off into the sun, roaring off into that cab with the DRS and the ERS torn away. And his teammate Gecko, oh geez, and Cookie into the penalty box now. Gecko, by the way, just cleared TB to get in the 2nd.
Back on the
Let's
back
see,
of
a little further
Cryptic. I
back.
mean, what else is there? Goatley was in this train overtaking, and he's now going to get overtaken now as he made the overtake
By
last
Torn
lap
Penguin.
and gets overtaken this time.
Yeah, and now we have trouble. That's Willow. Willow with a yellow. So Willow had a little trouble.
More pitters. Alex, Uri, TB.
Yup. I'm thinking with that little mishap that Willow had, he's coming in too. Yes, he is.
Look like how slow he was going if it wasn't for just trying not to spin again in tire temperatures. He may have been near a puncture with how slow he was going. So, interesting stuff there. They got to nurse these mediums later on. The ones who pitted early, like Cryptic, Andrea, definitely Goatley. Same with Penguin.
Well, Andrea and Red Fire get ahead of Uri, so Uri files out in the 12th place. Alex Norris is in 9th. TB is in 8th on his end. There's only one driver left to get in to do his pit stop, and that is KVS, who's sitting in 4th right now.
It's all going to change with the penalties for one, the tire situation, and now here come the overtakes.
Yeah, the overtakes are coming in as Andrea gets past Red Fire, and Red Fire battling with Uri. This is a three-way scrap between Mercedes Academy cars for the final points on the board. I mean, Andrea is in 10th, but he does have that penalty though, which means contact between
Penguin
and Red Fire.
Wow!
What in the world?
Andrea tried to move. Penguin went to the inside. They clapped.
No, it's Red Fire. It was Red Fire, not Andrea.
I thought I said Red Fire.
No, you said Andrea.
Penguin, Red Fire. Still, Red Fire tried to move when Penguin was already there and going there. So that happened.
And now KVS has some work to do. He comes out 14th behind Goat Lee. And he has 11 laps to try to get himself into the points.
That's going to hurt KVS. They're not even close to the points this whole battle with KVS in it. KVS is a lot of ground to make up.
Well, Gecko is on 2 warnings, by the way, so he has to, if he gets another warning, he'll get himself into the 3-second penalty club. I just took a quick peek at that.
Even when Cookie's penalty, he's comfortably on the podium, 9-second gap right now, and Cryptic's the one who's got to play catch up, but he has a penalty too. And Torn Penguin finally gets by Red Fire after that little skirmish turned nasty.
Yeah, so it looks like the Alpine team is going to be seeing the stewards room for at least a couple of incidents in regards to there. And I'm the Academy assistant for there, and I will say a couple of the things that occurred was a bit on the sketch side.
KV has just hit Red Fire 4 times right here. We got to keep an eye on this.
All right, stand by. We'll switch to
Red Fire
KVS
is defending
now.
this position like it's the last lap of the championship in 2021 Abu Dhabi. I mean, Red Bull might be behind, but this is not a championship, Red Fire. You've got to play nice with this, but I respect the defense.
Yeah, KVS is really going to be going into it here. Down the inside he goes and stays in tune, but Red Fire fighting back contact, but KVS shrugs it off and gets himself in the 12th.
Red Fire's not playing too nice today, is he? First it was George, then it was Penguin who just got a penalty, and now it was KVS.
Oh, no! We got a spin!
No!
And that is Red Fire with Goat Lee! And Goat Lee goes into the wall. Oh my god. And thankfully, no damage for Goat Lee, but...
Maybe on the rear wing. I don't know. Hit the wall rear wing first, though.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, because I did see Goat Lee saw an opening on the inside of Red Fire before heading into turn 9. Did Red Fire squash him in?
Well, Red Fire is not going to be having a pleasant time after this. That is for certain.
No,
he might not be having a pleasant time right now.
Andrea too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the Academy assistant, and I think some of the things that have been going on, I kind of don't condone. I'm not condoning it, really.
One's French, one's Italian. They're still racing for a French team. So there you go. Goatley is there. That's a shame for
Is it
Goatley.
bad? Is it bad for me to say a French and an Italian? That this is hopefully it doesn't come to blows like in World War II.
Well, I'll tell you right now, another travesty happened for Goatley, and it's not his first at all. That was a
No,
shame.
here comes Alex Norris on George though for the P7 spot, and he makes it easy on George and gets himself into the 7th place spot. Now is hunting TB down, and with TB having that penalty, Alex Norris is going to be going up into 6th via the track limit penalties.
Keep in mind, though, by the way, Florian was the first one, as well as Cookie, to hit on those hards of the competitive drivers. I'm ruling Redfire out of this because he's not in the
Yeah.
points. So, yeah, Union gets by Redfire. 2 EXFL drivers there, as Logivic noted in the chat. Yeah, for Florian and Cookie, though, they're the only ones in the hards that are risking tires at the end of this. So just something to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, very much so. Let's go a little further back to the 9th place spot, which is our closest battle right now between Uri and Williams and Andrea. Now, Andrea does have that penalty though, so he does have a gap to KVS, but with the instance that he was involved in, well, he's gonna have to put up some really good defenses to avoid getting a time penalty in the stewards room and lose that 10th place spot. For sure.
Changed his wing, by the way.
Pits.
That's what that was for.
Yeah, but he's still in the lead lap. But speaking of lap, Beatnik's about to get lapped pretty soon.
Not the day RB would have wanted.
Nope, not at all. I think Beatnik's got just seen that, looking in that mirror, looking in the mirrors and seeing that papaya McLaren coming on him. He'd be like, ah, damn it, I'm gonna get lapped. So he'll be the second driver to get lapped.
Kripke's gap to Florian, by the way, is 19 seconds. That's all the way back and forth. Not some you'd expect last game because it was full of DRS trains. I mean, we've seen those same DRS trains, but the dirty air is coming into effect and really split everyone up. Qualifying, second on back was close in certain sessions, but as you could see, the race pace has fluctuated things in a big way. If you look at the leader gap, you don't even have to look at the leader gap, just look at the gap from certain cars here. You will notice the different gaps. I mean, the gap from 1st to 10th right now is 34 seconds, so this new game, we're seeing who's doing what.
Oh, Gecko in the penalty box!
There you go.
So now the top 4 have at least 1 penalty each on them. And, by the way, we have only... okay, Penguin is retired in the pits, so that's our 3rd retirement of the event. But anyways, the top 4 do have a penalty on them, and by the way, with only 7 laps to go, Jack is out of the range of Cryptic to gain a position.
If
Jack is 3.2 seconds behind.
If Cryptic's mediums fall off, it's still doable for Jack.
Yeah, it is probably doable. Just depends on how he manages his tires going forward. But yeah,
hopefully these ghost cars of Danny and other lap cars.
Oh, TB gets a second penalty.
Yeah, that's crucial. Yeah, the thing I'm looking at for Jack, by the way, is this lap ghosted car of Danny here. I don't know how that's going to affect the dirty air because it's a ghosted car, but pending DRS, if it's a last lap thing, it could be his best friend. But TB's best friend is going to be Alex and George here battling, and I don't know if they duke it out, if it will change anything, because that is 6 seconds, as you said, Titan. Not the only one today having 6 seconds. Goatley did earlier too. Still does. And he's the only other one in terms of drivers in somewhat competitive
Danny
areas.
has 6 as well.
Yeah, but he also has a 10-second. Penguin said he didn't want to drive anymore after Red punted him in the wall. It gave him front wing damage, so that is his reason for retiring from the event.
Yep. I had a feeling that's what it was. I had a feeling when I saw Penguin going off in that DRS straight, the DRS zone 3, I had a feeling that he would have had damage from that collision there. But that is very unfortunate for Torn Penguin. He could have had a good run, but unfortunately it was undone.
Some
And
of these
Uri
drivers
passes Andrea for the 9th place spot.
Some of these drivers tighten. They may want to get on GTA and start fighting some people with their character afterwards, mainly toward Redfire or toward the Alpine drivers. That's how today's been for some of
I
the
don't think
drivers.
Redfire plays GTA.
Well, today might be his day to not buy it. Yeah, Knight's also
Probably.
said to invade. Same with Dom. They both said, take me out, put me as reserve. I can't drive this game. So that is the situation for the other two
Well,
retirements.
Redfire's in the pits, by the way. I guess maybe his mediums fell apart too quick.
Well, like I said, if you're cryptic here, you gotta still nurse these to the end. 4 seconds is the gap, but is he comfortable? I mean, others are probably not comfortable either.
Yeah, very much so. Alex Norris, but I will say, with Alex Norris, by the way, who's currently sitting in 7th, is going to be moved up into 6th once those track limit penalties get applied, as TB has a wiggle at the end of exit of turn 13. So that's going to be a bit crucial there. But anyways, like I said, Alex Norris, so far this entire event, he's sitting as my strong contender for driver today, because he had
so much battery,
phenomenally great he had a phenomenally great qualifying. He's been pretty stellar so far this entire event, and TB makes another mistake, and Alex Norris is smelling the wounds and gets by TB to get into 6th.
Pretty sure it's TB who said this Ferrari and Haas lineup is not going to stay the same. I think with the struggles with TB, he can understand why that would be if Invade makes a switch, but what's vulnerable to George? George and TB, similar battery. Alex used a bit there and still has more battery than TB and George both, so there you go.
Oh, I just realized. So with TB falling victim to George, with George coming up pretty quickly, but take a look at the gap. Take a look at the gap behind, because Uri is closing in to being within under 6 seconds of TB. So if Uri can get under 6 seconds behind TB, then Uri could steal a position and go to 8th.
I mean, regardless, this is still good points for Williams. Their car is a lot better this game. They're in a good position. You look at where the Haas is at and you say, well, the Williams should be in front of it, but we got a talented driver in that Haas, which is good to see. Maybe getting a Ferrari, pending whatever happens with TB and his confidence. He's definitely a driver who goes based on his own confidence and others. So, yeah, we'll see. Uri is not far off that gap. KVS is going to get 10th right now based on these penalties, too. Red Bull haven't had the day they expected to have, too. 8th and 10th.
Yeah, I think there may be. Maybe. There's probably some pace and probably control struggles for the Red Bull pair. It's probably similar. They're in a similar boat, like the Ferraris are. But KVS is probably gonna be. But then again, KVS is filling in that Red Bull. He's usually in the Racing Bulls, but he is trying his best as he can get it to work. George, George is trying. He's just trying his damnedest, but it's just not seeing the gap going the way he wants. As TB going up against Alex Norris, but Alex Norris fends him off from that inside attack and stays in 6th. And KVS going up against Andrea into the gravel again. Goes KVS, but I think that one, I caught the end of it. KVS looked like probably went a little too deep on the attack. And I think Andrea makes a mistake out of turn 15. So this is not over for the final points, as we're heading into the penultimate lap, with Florian currently going through DRS zone number 2.
This has been an impressive race from Florian. He's looking at career win number 2 right here. And starting off the season strong.
Collision between KVS and Andrea. KVS went to the back of Andrea, and let's see what's going to happen here. Let's stay close on this one. See what happens here. Florian is coming out of the final corner, and we'll be beginning the final lap of this Australian GP for RPL. Let's see what KVS does as he's trying to hunt Andrea down, goes on the outside and makes easy, quick work. And into 10th goes KVS.
George just gave TB a nudge for the 7th place spot.
Yeah, George is trying to chase TB down.
He sees Alex Norris in front of him. He sees an opportunity in front of his eyes. No fault for George there because Alex used a lot of battery fighting TB. Down below 30% now. And good job to the Mercedes pair, too. This is going to be the first time since Season 6 that we see an all-Academy podium. It's going to be the Mercedes plus McLaren Academy doing it. And Florian's only other win, playing Imola. McLaren have a better car this game. They're going to be the favorites. Florian right now trying to put himself a favorite for the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, very much so. So, coming into the last couple of corners for the final time, he showed a dominant streak in qualifying, and he has led it, has had a good race from start to finish to kick off season 13 with a win. Florian wins here in Australia, and it's going to be a Mercedes Academy 1, 2, 3. Gecko will claim second. Here comes Cookie to cross into third. And very solid runs for there. Now into the last, for the rest of the points here. Here comes Cryptic to finish in fourth and is going to keep it by about 4/10. Jack will settle for fifth. TB is going to cross the line in sixth as George got Alex for the 6th place spot. As George gets 6th, Alex Norris 7th. TB will settle for 8th. Uri, solid stuff for him, gets 9th place. And KVS will finish the points in 10th place. But let's see. So driver of the day, I mean we had to give credit to Alex Norris for how he did overall for the event. A very high P3 qualifying finish for him, and turns it into a 7th place for him. Very solid effort for him there. But you also got to give credit to Jack and George. They were in cars that were just not being the most pleasant, and they still managed to get some solid points out of that one. And also the race winner of Florian, just running a cool and calculated race for the entire session there.
That move on the last lap was pretty good from George. Muscled his way past Alex by a little bit of tactics there. Might be a little questionable, but no one can complain whenever it's hard racing like that. Florian celebrating on the top step of the podium for career win number 2. McLaren have won in 5 straight seasons. Florian has won in back-to-back seasons. And really, we saw this in Tier 2 with his ability. You knew his pace was amazing, but he had to change that racecraft. He finally did. Had a Tier 1 podium prior when he went back down to Tier 2, and then when he came back up to Tier 1, the races in Zandvoort and even the season prior to last season were amazing. And now you see what he's able to do as we see the drivers who got the race winner, fastest lap, driver of the day from the game, most overtakes, Cookie. Interesting there. You didn't see a lot of people for the last half of the race, though. Cleanest driver, Alex, this race. So nice there. I would agree with Alex being the cleanest. And I'd also agree with Cookie being most overtakes. And driver of the day, I don't agree on. I would say it's either Florian, Alex, or Uri. 3 good performances right there. And yeah, as Florian right there, he's making himself a favorite. This is going to be an interesting season in terms of how he keeps going with this. Because, you know, based on some of the racing at the start with Gecko, it was a little touch and go, especially with qualifying. Let's just smash the battery. That's what Florian did, and hopefully he does not lose his head, because if he doesn't, he is going to be hard to beat. 3 drivers we lost from the race, Titan. I'm going to have to say Alex Norris, driver of the day. I mean, he put in a good performance. Uri is definitely a close second, and Florian, domination. So those might be my second and third contenders. Well, I'd give it to Alex Norris.
Wow.
And no one got a puncture. No one got a puncture. Everyone nursed their tires.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone did pretty good with their tires. And yeah, I mean, we do agree on a couple of people getting an earn for driver of the day contention. nomination there. And let's
Haas got
see.
P7 in every division, by the way. Ferrari didn't sweep the weekend, but they have something to be proud of with that.
Yeah, very much so. Well, let us see here. So this is going to wrap up the stream here for tonight, but we will be looking forward to a barnstorming event for round 2 of the season. So Thursday, Tier 3 will be racing at Silverstone, the reverse layout of Silverstone for the second round of their season. Same thing applies with Tier 2. They'll be doing that on Friday as well. And next week for Tier 1, we will be racing around the Shanghai International Circuit in China. Well, any final thoughts just before we head off?
It was a clean race. I think the Alpines, I was very surprised they fell back with their pace, even based on how they did in qualifying. But they were really the only two that really struck my eye in terms of not being up to par with standards. But besides that, a very clean race. Safety car free, no VSCs. Exactly what everyone was frustrated about on F124 with constant DRS trains. We didn't see much of that. We saw some drivers in those trains for the first half. Once the pit cycles came into effect, the second half saw a more sprung out race. Qualifying this season, bar Florian right now, who knows what happens there with if this is a fluke or what with qualifying at least. Qualifying is going to be a lot closer than the races. In all tiers, this is the way it went so far, and the race seemed to be a bit of a difference. I'm interested to see what happens in the next round, but I'm also interested to see what happens for the rest of the season because, yeah, Florian is definitely the title favorite. And can anyone dismantle him? What's going to happen when he's not here? Can he continue to show up and not miss races like he did last season? He showed up a lot for the first half, but the second half, he didn't really show up much last season. So we will see if Florian can continue to stay here, stay alive, and really do what he needs to do to win the championship. An Italian has not won the RPL championship in a long while. Got to go back to Ding, season 1. Could happen in season 13. And next week will be race 244. We're not far from race 250. So although we don't have many historic things happening right now in Tier 1, we do in Tier 2 and Tier 3 for our first race in reverse Silverstone. But Tier 1's got some magical stuff coming up too. We do race there this season. So Tier 1 drivers, although it's not next week Silverstone reverse, it is for Tier 2 and 3. It is also later this season for Tier 1. So they will be taking their notes and looking at what to do. Yeah, I mean, we're in for a good season. Not as many DRS trains, dirty air, tire wear, 2 stops, good racing. A lot to be thankful for. So, God bless. We're back in full form. And Knights and Dom have dropped down to reserve. That has been confirmed. So Invade will need new drivers again.
That sucks for him. Well, that is going to conclude the stream for tonight, and I hope you all enjoyed the racing for Tier 1 tonight. And if you haven't seen the Tier 2 and Tier 3 races, feel free to take a look at our RPL Twitch or our RPL YouTube channels for the replays of those races if you haven't seen that. Also take a look at our RPL YouTube channel for seeing all the past races that we've had in RPL's history for F1, F2, Tier 2, and Tier 3. As well as seeing some funny moments like out of context and RPL slander. You'll be laughing in regards to those as well. And yeah, I believe that is everything that I can think of off the top of my head. So from RPL Streams, Ty and Iron Wolf, Rise Searles, we say good night and have a great one.